So I think we're live in pre-show. Let me check here. Yeah, it looks like we are. Check, check, check. Dave, if you've got audio, check.
Testing 1 2. Test 1 2. Check,
Dave,
check, check.
Dave, do you have an audio? He nods his head. Oh my goodness.
I hear you. You hear me. I mean, you know.
That's right. That's right. The witness will answer the question. All right. Oh yeah.
Oh, there
Tom,
we go.
Everybody's joking about me having a birthday. I tell you what.
That's no
Dan's-
joke. At
Dan
our age,
says-
it is no joke.
I'm so old. My social security number is 1. Now that's not funny. That's just plain mean. Excuse me while I finish my lunch. So I see Rudy's here, Tommy's here, Ed's here, Dan's here, Giles is here. Kyle is here,
Giles
even though
came
we're
to
not
see the
giving away
debacle.
anything. Todd and Gunnar. And who else, looking back through the list? Jim was here a little while ago. Okay. Good. Good, good. Looks like most everybody is on YouTube. Okay. So, welcome, everybody that's here so far. We're going to start in about 4 minutes and 55 seconds. Thank you for the happy birthday. I am 64 today. So I'm 1 year away from, yeah, that's right. I don't have enough fingers and toes. But I appreciate all the birthday wishes today. And Cliff is here. Cliff can't spell, but that's okay. Yeah, he meant Tom. There you go. Rich is here. Y'all know Rich is writing a book. Rich is writing a book about live streaming. So you'll want to keep an eye out for that when the time comes. Nick is here. Welcome, Nick. Good to have you. Glad to see you. Well, or see your name anyway. Troy is here. Glad you are here, indeed. Let's see what else we can do to cause some trouble here. Dave and I have had a blast this morning. We have been, what have we been doing, Dave? We were setting up SRT. That's right. That's what it was. And we didn't do all the different things we could do with SRT, so we may do something live that we haven't done already.
Uh-oh.
So we can see if maybe we can break something or do something wrong or something. It'll be fun.
Well, once I implemented the vMix 101 class checklist, we were actually able to start working on SRT.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For vMix call, yes.
Yes. For anything at that point.
Welcome to Troy and Igray and Andres. We're glad you're here with us today. Congratulations to Cliff Sobel on a successful live stream for a client this morning. Cliff starts sending me emails at 6:30 in the morning. I was like, Cliff, dude, I don't even roll out of bed till noon on a good day. Tim is here. He says he's got me beat by 10. And Chris Morton says that he is 1.5 months younger than me. Well, I bet you don't get ID'd when you go in for a drink anymore. Sandy and I were in the store the other day. Where were we? We were in Florida, and she was trying to buy a bottle of wine, and they ID'd her. Made her day. Then they said we have to ID everybody no matter what their age. So it lost a little luster at that point. Welcome, RJ. Glad you're here. RJ, we're going to be heading over your way. I'm not sure when, but I'll let you know to meet with the guy that's got the big LED wall on the back of his boat. So what's it called? Splashboards. If you guys want to see something cool, Google splashboards. It's kind of amazing. Do we have a new juice sponsor? Well, actually, as you well know, Tim from vMix was here a couple of weeks ago and made a very big impression on me with root beer. So I have been supplementing my lemonade intake with root beer intake, and apparently you can buy this giant size cup. You see, and the cup's as big as I am, and fill the whole thing with root beer for 99 cents. It's amazing. Hello, Daniel. Welcome. Glad you're here. So, Jacob, it's not juice. It's root beer. Now, the rumor is that the NAB Streaming Idiots Meetup will have root beer as one of its refreshments. Root beer, lemonade, and other libations. So there you go. We got a lot of Swedes in the chat today. That's right. It must be cold up in Sweden and nobody wants to get out. Ed likes ginger beer. Well, we'll see what we can do. Yes, RJ, I'll give you a heads up for sure as soon as I know something. Miranda's here. We were just talking about you in the pre-show, Miranda. I bet your ears were burning. Thank you for the happy birthday wishes. Kenny's checking in. Kenny, I need to talk to you and Dave again. So no pressure. Well, I know you're right there. But I just, anyway. You probably can imagine if I want to talk with both of you at the same time, what we want to talk about. So there you go. When Tom was a boy, Baskin Robbins had only one flavor. And back then, Dan, they were just known as Baskin. That's right. All right. Well, Dave, I was glad to have you on the show. You got to You got to quit interrupting me and talking so much. Oh, that's great. All right. Very good. Very good. Very good. Are we in trouble again? Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Pretty much. Okay, well let's get ready to start the show. And I'm going to change my background. And Dave, are you going to come with green screen, or are you going to flash in something, do you think? You're good the way you are. Okay. All right.
Just like I am.
Just like he is. Just like he is. Oh, I need to do one quick sound check from you on my other headset, Dave. So if you can just say something or play something, I'll be right back. Got to check him out.
Yeah, just to make sure, because we never did that part, the part that's actually in the show itself. So, we only spent an hour trying to get all this stuff doing what it's supposed to do.
That's going to work.
But
That's going to work. That's going to work.
I guess we'll get there. Is it good now?
Very good. All right.
All good? All right. All right. Very nice.
All right, I'm going to mute Dave so he can stop talking. And I'm going to mute me and let's start the show. What do you say? Ready? What do I need? I need root beer, and I need to turn off my phone. And there we go. So, ready? Set. Go. So, golly gee, let's turn on some audio. What do you think? Well, would it be a streaming idiot show without audio? And I could have gone about another 10 minutes if it hadn't have been for Dave just kind of going, you might want to check your ear there. And there you go. And now Andres is saying, hey, your audio's not working. Where is Marie when I need her? Unmute. There you go. Actually, that thing is supposed to unmute itself. When the jaws of death open up, it's supposed to turn my mic on. So apparently my trigger has gotten untriggered. So there we go. The audio is absolutely superb tonight. Thank you, Giles. So welcome to Streaming Idiots. What a great way to start a show, by being an idiot. I'm so delighted that you're here with me to witness all of this. Also excited to have my guest, Dave Edwards, from WSN Live here. He's in the green room kind of getting warmed up. But we are going to talk about vMix 23, the beta that vMix rolled out. I guess they rolled it out maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago, something like that. and it's out there. The big feature, I think, is secure, reliable transport, SRT. It's the kind of thing that if you need it, you know you need it. And if you don't know what it is, you may not need it yet. But you probably will think of some uses of it once you know it's there. So we're going to play around with SRT some more. We played with it some this morning. We broke it once, but then we fixed it, and then we realized we didn't really break it. It was just operator error. So on my part, big surprise there, right? So we'll have some fun with that in just a second. But I wanted to give a big shout out to the folks that were at the Stream Geek Summit last Friday. Many thanks to Paul and Tess from PTZ Optics and Stream Geeks for putting that together. Lots of folks were there. Lots of folks were in panels and leading workshops. And I think a lot of that content is still available at the Stream Geeks channel on Facebook. So give that a look. And you may want to, if there's some particular parts of it you think are really great, send us a note and we'll make sure that we link to those in the Streaming Idiots Facebook page so people can take a look at those too. And there were a lot of Streaming Idiots on the panels, so it was nice to know that that idiots have their reach far and wide. Yeah, it's pretty great. Coming up in January, the Stream Geeks will be doing another summit. This will be for houses of worship. It's going to be called the Worship Summit. It will be all virtual. That is, you don't have to go there to attend. I believe it's like the last Friday in January, so we'll have plenty of time to put you on notice about it. I'm going to be speaking and I'll be talking about live streaming with your church using Facebook and how to leverage Facebook to really make it work for your church. So we will, you'll hear more about that as the time comes. A couple of other side notes before we bring Dave in, because he's getting antsy right now. I can tell he's beginning to jump around in the green room. And he has a real green room. He's in a literal green room. It's going to be amazing. But we mentioned, I think 2 weeks ago, that we've been working on the X-Keys XK68, which is a joystick. And we have figured out a way to let this guy natively, though just the way it is, control more than one PTZ camera, not necessarily NDI. So if you're interested in that, we'll be putting together a video on that. So keep an eye out for that. And it'll be as simple as mashing a button to select a camera, and then the joystick will control that camera, or the buttons will move the camera wherever it needs to go. Pretty cool. That's the XK68 joystick. That's a cool project we will tell you more about. Another cool project that we've been working on just this week, in fact, just yesterday and today, and this is for those of you that might be starting out with live streaming for a podcast, or maybe just doing an audio podcast or a video podcast, or want a way to use an inexpensive mixer to work with your system and also be able to monitor your own audio without that annoying delay that you get if you monitor it from your vMix PC. So we'll put together a video for that. Very basically and very quickly, we found out that the XLR mic channel and the 1/4-inch instrument channel, if you plug something into both of them, it acts as a pass-through. And so if the mic channel is populated by an XLR microphone and the instrument channel, the line-in channel, is populated by a 1/4-inch, essentially an output, you can send your audio, just your audio, back to the PC, and also have the PC send all of its audio back to you so you can monitor it all through the headphone jack. And these guys are like, I don't know, 50 or 60 bucks. You can get them used on eBay. We'll be putting the whole how-to video together on that, and it'll be a lot of fun. And anyway, I've got long stories to tell you about that one. So we're looking forward to that. And Dave Edwards was testing the big brother of this guy. This is the Behringer Xenix 502, totally analog, no USB. And apparently there might be a Q502, which would be a USB version. Anyway, Dave's been testing the 802, which is the big brother. It's got 2 XLR inputs. And he says it has the same pass-through feature. It's not in the documentation. It's just something that we sort of stumbled over. It was there all along. It was there all along. Anyway, let's bring our guest in and see if we've got a button. We've got our X Keys XK80. You can see how well it is organized. Yeah, it's not organized. It's just like we started in one corner and we just sort of worked our way across. But let's bring Dave in and make sure we've got Dave's audio on. Dave, are you there? I'm sorry, Dave, I didn't hear you. Are you there?
I am here.
Yay! All right, we have audio. Woo! You know, if I'd take a second and activate the activators on here, I could have, I would know that you were there. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so Dave, you were playing with SRT with Giles on World of Live Streaming. Was that this week or last week?
We played around with it a couple of times. I think it was this last Monday we were playing around with it. Might have been even last week. I can't remember now.
Okay.
We do a lot of stuff over at World of Live Streaming. So, yeah, we were playing around with it, and it was pretty amazing. It was like, oh, you just do this and you do that. And oh, hey, there you are. And it was just right there. So...
And you guys were using the rendezvous feature. Tell us about that.
We actually did both. We did rendezvous. Rendezvous is kind of like vMix call, just a little more latency, delay in it, and you know, two-way type thing. It's not conversational, but we had also done the caller listener, which is really probably the way that most people might want to use it, is the caller listener deal. But it's really was pretty simple to set up. And so I thought, when you were talking about doing this, it's like, well, I'll come on with you. We can sit there and play with it. Certainly can't do any worse than anybody else, you know, so that's kind of it.
So how long did it take you to set it up the very first time?
Well, Giles is the expert, and we really should be talking to him. He he played with this quite a bit, I guess, ahead of time. So when I went in to hook it up, it took just a couple of minutes. Just enter IP address and port number, and boom, there you go. So
you didn't have to go in and open up a port or anything fancy like that required any.
No, Rendezvous. The thing about Rendezvous, at least according to the SRT documentation and what Martin says, is it's supposed to help you traverse firewalls very easily. Now, when you go with the caller listener, you may have to do some port things, but what we did when we did the caller listener is there's a program called Zero Tier, and you can install that on your computer, and it allows you to set up a VPN between wherever. And so Giles and I have that set up already to do some of the World Live Streaming stuff that we do, and we're able to see each other's NDI sources and all that kind of stuff. So when we first did this, we just used our internal IP address, just like you would. A lot of people were experimenting using their own internal IP address. And so I have an IP address on the VPN as well as Giles, and we just connected through there, and it all looked good and worked well. So that's, and the Zero Tier thing kind of does a lot of things for us at World of Live Streaming. But that's another story. But we were able to connect the client server and not have to deal with any firewall or port forwarding issues because we were on the VPN. So we haven't gone in that direction yet, but I'm kind of getting the feeling we might be leaning that way today, maybe, or something. I'm not sure.
Well, maybe you and I can play with that without using anything fancy, so that the average person would see what it would be like if they didn't know how to open a port and if they didn't have a VPN or any of those things. Kenny's asking in chat, he said, is rendezvous part of vMix? And let's differentiate the rendezvous that's a two-way chat in Wirecast, kind of like Skype or vMix call. We're not talking about that rendezvous. We're talking about a function within the vMix implementation of SRT called rendezvous, which sets up a two-way secure, reliable transport communication, whereas the sender caller would set up a one-way only, point-to-point one-way. Rendezvous allows a point-to-point bidirectional feed, so you end up setting up an output and setting up an input with rendezvous. And, I've known this for all of, 2 hours, Dave? How am I doing?
Doing fine, man.
Yeah, he's like, sure, you're doing fine. It's your show,
Lead the way, Tom. Lead the way.
Lead the way. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what SRT is in its very kind of basic nature. SRT is essentially a way to transport video from one point to another point so that all of the video arrives at the destination in proper sequence and nothing is missing. And so we don't want to call it error correction, but if SRT determines that, hey, there was a packet lost in transmission, it'll go back and grab that packet and put it in its right place so that when everything arrives at the destination, everything is as it should be. One of the ways to do that is to set up a fixed latency. Now, SRT is not intended as a low latency protocol or a low latency function. In fact, it might be set up when we were in Amsterdam, when vMix 23 SRT was being introduced to the whole world. We were in Amsterdam and we had an SRT call connection in Australia, and so we were hooked into to Martin Sinclair's vMix office in Australia, receiving video in Amsterdam that was that the source was in Australia, and it was just absolutely pristine, but there was a 500 millisecond latency, and that was a fixed latency that we had set up both on the sending end and on the receiving end, so that the sender and the receiver knew precisely how much latency there would be, and then it was up to the internet to make sure that things got from point A to point B somehow. Now, if you're in a situation where you've got a satellite or you're leasing some sort of special line in order to be able to have guaranteed function over the internet or guaranteed transmission, SRT might be able to help you reduce your costs and use just the wide open Wild Wild West internet, because SRT provides a guarantee of, well, I won't say a guarantee because you're not going to get your money back, but the idea is that SRT means that all of your video is going to arrive at the destination exactly when you say it will, and it will be in great order. I can already think of a way to set up, a sports broadcast using 2 or 3 or 4 cameras that are sending their video back to a main studio using SRT, so that all of the camera feeds arrive in sync with each other because they all have the same amount of latency worked into them, and that the switching of that happens back at the studio. In fact, you could put your announcers back there at the studio, and the only people you would have to send to the field would be, 3 or 4 camera people, and then the ability to communicate with those camera people and direct their operations. Might be interesting. I'm waiting for somebody to try that. But SRT would allow that point-to-point transmission of video with the implied guarantee now that it all was going to arrive exactly when it should. Now, rendezvous is a hybrid of that, which says, yeah, we're going to set up a point-to-point, and we're going to set up another point-to-point. And so we have dual point-to-point wireless transmissions. It's not really a two-way conversation, as Dave and I, we'll have to play with it some more, because there was a lot of echoes and reverb and all sorts of unintended audio consequences. But I think that's just a matter of routing audio in such a way that it doesn't back itself up like that. Dave, I'm not sure how we would use rendezvous in a situation. It's a neat
rendezvous
little
is
feature.
still, yeah, it's still just according to Giles, is that it's still one way, even though you see me and I see you.
Right.
Because I'm sending one way to you, you're sending one way to me, and it's not
That's right.
conversational. It's not intended to be that way. But Giles is saying rendezvous is not bidirectional, although I see you and you see me simultaneously.
Well, it's not bidirectional, but it's two one-way directions.
Exactly.
I mean, really,
Simultaneous.
there is a distinction about that. It's one does, unlike a phone call where if I hang up, it kills it. With rendezvous, if the sender stops sending, that doesn't mean that, well, we don't want to call it a sender. If rendezvous client number 1 stops sending, rendezvous client number 2 can continue to send. So they are independent in that sense. I mean, in order to set up rendezvous, and we'll show some folks when we go into the post show, and I'll step back over to my desk and do a screen capture. But when Dave and I set up rendezvous, we both set up an output and we both set up an input. And so my output was sending to Dave's input, and Dave's output was sending to my input. It was really pretty cool. So there you go. Rich is saying, can you use Dante for audio? Well, Rich, doggone it, dude, download it and tell us. Dave and I probably are not the best people to use for audio because we got 57 different echoes going at one time. It was quite amazing, actually. And it probably will never, ever be duplicated. Jacob's saying when he sends sports that there can be a 20-second latency added. And that a SRT with 500 milliseconds and getting flawless streaming is a no-brainer. So there you go. We will see the more people begin to use it, especially folks that are not traditional broadcasters in that sense. That who was it? We were chatting about this last week, and I think it was Eric came on and said that ESPN uses this all the time. The NFL uses it all the time. When they did the Thursday night broadcast I guess it was Sunday morning NFL broadcast from London, that they were sending all the video from London back to ESPN headquarters or NFL headquarters or wherever it was, using an SRT system to do that. So I'm pretty stoked. I mean, prior to vMix coming out with SRT, Dave, I didn't even know it existed. Was this on your radar prior to this?
Yeah, I had seen it going to Streaming Media West as well as NAB, where people had it set up and had some demonstrations going, and there was some conversation about it. People were mentioning it, but the fact that they decided to make it free for everybody to use, open source it, I think was the real game changer that made everything. All of a sudden, everybody got interested in it because now everybody can use it, and open source and all that. So I did know about it. I really didn't know much about it until Martin implemented it, and you're seeing all the comments in the forums and things flying back and forth, and then starting to play with it on World of Live Streaming. Then it finally started to make some sense as to what it could do and what it couldn't do, and where it might fit. And I'm really interested to see, just like you mentioned earlier, where everybody gets out there, because the streaming community are not bound by any rules of, well, this is the way this was intended to be used. We do anything with everything, and it may or may not work, but we give everything a shot, just to see what will happen. And I'm really interested to see some of the use cases that people are able to come out of now that we have a version of vMix available, and you have the full access of utilizing SRT in every methodology, I guess, that's available. So just kind of waiting to see.
And Martin will tell you that people are using vMix in ways that he never imagined. And so something like this, the SRT function in vMix will probably have another dozen or 50 or 200 war stories of ways that vMix has implemented a feature that that people never expected that they would use it to why couldn't you take SRT and bounce it around the world over multiple stations? I don't know that there would be an advantage to that, but I could send it to you. You could send it to Giles. Giles could send it to John, and John could send it back to Alabama, and we could see how long it took to get all those. That probably is a fool's errand, but it might be interesting nevertheless. Rich says, is there a diagram somewhere of what you're talking about? Rich, I'm sure there is.
Put a dot here, put a dot there, put enable SRT and send here, put enable SRT receive there, and that's it. You got a cable that you want to plug in, that's kind of all it is. It's as simple as vMix call. There's no mix minus because you're not communicating directly. I mean, we're doing it double for testing purposes, but when you normally would use rendezvous, you would just do the rendezvous and just who one sends to the other, whoever sets it up for whichever ever, and you don't need to connect them both. So, but Giles also mentioned over here to me that don't forget about HEVC. We're on H.264 right now. H.265 is HEVC, and you can use that as well, but it does require a lot of processing, because we tested it the other day and my feedback to Giles was not very good. It got very jumpy. So that's something that I'm not sure about. It might be my setup here. It could be anything, but it only uses 50% of the bandwidth of H.264. So HEVC would be a great bandwidth saver if that's a requirement as well. So you're able to get that bandwidth down and then control the latency at the same time. You can send a lot of. It's supposed to be the same quality, is what they say, and so you can save that minimal bandwidth and make it reliable simultaneously.
All right, Dave. Well, that's a real case scenario right there, because you and I talked about parts of that in the pre-show, which is, let's say somebody has got a sporting event, but it could be any event, and they have limited bandwidth at that location. If they've got a powerful enough PC, and we'll get the specs on what that means, that they can use HEVC and send that as an SRT back to their studio. And let's say they've got, the best they can muster is, 1.5 megabits per second, but they want to do 1080. Well, if they can do 1080, that would otherwise go out at 3 megabits per second. Or maybe it's 720 at 3 megabits per second, because it's going to be sports, or it's going to be 60 frames a second or something like that. But all they've got available safely is 1.5. They can send it HEVC back to the studio. The studio can take it and then blast it out at 3 megabits per second, 720, which was the original intention. I mean, there's a use case right there where somebody is bandwidth restricted. If you can get the same intended resolution and frame rate at half the bit rate and have the same quality, then when you get it out to the other end, you're not going to send it. I don't think you're going to be able to send it to too many CDNs HEVC, are you, Dave? I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be. It seems like I guess there's some out there, but you have to configure. Maybe if you do a Wowza scenario and you can go in and set it up yourself or something like that. But I don't see a lot of it just readily available everywhere.
Right.
Although if you send it to the socials, they seem to take it. If you send it to YouTube, Facebook, anyway, they seem to be able to handle it. So I think it's also GPU processing for the HEVC.
Right.
From what I can tell. And so it's got to be, you got to be able to have enough hardware encoders available to do, your recording, your streaming, whatever. But obviously, if you're sending something SRT, you're not actually streaming. The stream button isn't enabled. It's just like making a vMix call. You don't have to hit the stream button to make a vMix call connect to somebody else. You're just making the call through vMix and through the connection. And so that's really all you're doing with the SRT. You're not having to hit the stream button or anything there. So you could record, you could do an SRT with an HEVC type stream out with hardware encoder enabled, and you should be okay with a powerful enough card. And like I said, we don't know the details on it.
Well, let's test it, shall we? Let's go break something.
Whatever. Oh, we can do that. Right up my alley.
All right. Well, we're going to close out the official part of the show right now, and move into post-show. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. We're not really leaving, but we'll be right back with a live test in maybe 27 seconds. We just never know. Okay, let's see. Let me get some ears on so I can hear Dave. All right, Dave, are you there?
I am here.
Okay. All right, so actually, do we still have an SRT running?
Yeah. I see you.
Yeah, we do. So we did this whole show, and we're live streaming all of it, and we had this rendezvous SRT thing still going.
Yeah, it stayed solid the whole time. It's confusing because it looks just like the other view, so you're not sure. Is this the vMix call or is this the SRT? But you see, you did the side by side with me a while ago, where you took the vMix call and the SRT feed like this, and so you see the difference between the two. Is it real or is it Memorex?
I was thinking the same thing.
So
actually, the giveaway would be that the one on the right that moves to the left, that's the vMix call, and then it's the SRT on the right. That is, and the difference is right now, let's see, I'm going to look at the stats, Dave, for the vMix call, and right now we have 150 to 175 milliseconds of latency on the vMix call. And we know, because we agreed, we have 200 milliseconds of latency on SRT, so we're only talking about, maybe less than a frame. 20 milliseconds of latency. And obviously that's going to move on the vMix call part because WebRTC is, pretty dynamic in that sense. But, yeah, it looks like you are pretty well spot on.
I'm wondering if we could have set our settings for 150 milliseconds and you wouldn't tell the difference.
Well, you want to try that?
We can give it a shot and see what happens.
I mean, don't tell anybody, but we'll do that.
Oh, I won't tell anybody.
So I'm going to close my SRT input, and I'm going to go and actually I probably ought to do a screen capture so that people can see what we're doing here. So let's, here is a screen capture. All right. And let's take the lines off over here just so it's easier to see. And I'm going to do one more thing with the screen capture. I'm just going to sharpen it a little bit using the sharpened button. So now you can see the output, of course, is the screen capture so that you can see what's going on. And I'm going to go into settings. And then I'm going to go to Outputs, NDI, SRT. And when you first look at this, it's like, okay, where the heck is the SRT? I don't see it. Well, you know, that it's a beta. It may change. But for right now, we were using output 2, which is set to input 34, which is my webcam over here. And if we go to the gear icon, the settings icon, right here is where it says enable SRT. And, you know, there's the host name, there's the port. And Dave, you want to say latency of, would you say 150? Oh, I think I turned off Dave's audio by accident. Let me set this and then go back and grab him.
I mutated myself, I think.
No, your audio was blue. That was my fault. All right.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
You're there. You're there.
I'm back. Am I back?
All right. So I'm going to use output number 2, which is set for input number 34, which is the webcam, so that Dave is going to see my webcam no matter what. And I've enabled SRT. The type is going to be rendezvous. There's caller, listener, and rendezvous. And Dave, should I not be showing everybody your IP address? Oh, well, too late now.
I don't care.
Okay.
I can't do anything about that.
And we agreed on port 1000, a latency of 150 milliseconds. And the quality is going to be H.264 1.5 megabits per second, AAC 128 kilobits per second. And so we're going to use hardware encoder. We'll say OK. We'll say OK. It doesn't ask me to restart vMix, which is a good thing. So now I've got the send set. Dave, are you receiving?
Oh, I've been receiving.
Okay. So I'm going to go and set up the input. So here's one I used earlier. That's SRT rendezvous with Dave's address. And I'm going to change the latency to 150. And that's the only thing I'm changing right now. So we'll say OK. And here it comes in right here. Let's add it to my multi-view. That's number 53. Right there. And let's go full screen with that one so that everybody can see. All right, Dave, you've got the floor.
What? I have the floor.
You have the floor.
Well, I was just going to say that Giles was commenting back over here in Facebook chat that the SRT looked better to him and that the latency was almost the same. And he said, you know, you could do a ping and set your latency to that 4 times whatever that is, but that's pretty close, I think. So, I don't know. Yeah, I think the 150, because WebRTC was negotiating and using 150 to 175, that's kind of why I suggested we go back to that, because that was being negotiated for us to some degree. And so if that was working and WebRTC felt comfortable fluctuating a little bit in there, I thought that it would, you know, work pretty well with SRT. So,
yeah. Oh, I think you're spot on. The other thing that we probably ought to mention is that Dave's vMix call right here is set at 360p. So you're probably not going to get a good apples to apples comparison as to which
Right.
one looks better or worse, because they are not equivalent. The other thing that was interesting to note, and let's go back to the screen share here, is that in the statistics part of vMix, down here in the bottom right-hand corner, that little bar graph, if you pop that up, there's a new part to it now called SRT. And you can see some statistics, or lack thereof, right here. The output, which is my send, you can see the duration, the bandwidth, the packet loss, the total data, and the RTT milliseconds. That would be, I guess, some sort of round trip or something. And then the SRT, which is coming from Dave, what the duration of that is, packet loss data. It's interesting that we're not getting any data in these fields. And even if I reset it, it doesn't really reset anything. It continues to go that way. It may be that those statistics are only effective if we're doing a one-way transmission. Dave, you want to let's try doing a send. You be a sender and I be a receiver. You be a caller and I'll be a listener.
We can do that.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do that. Let's. I'm going to go back to this screen right there, and I'm going to turn off. I'm sorry. Who's the caller? Who's the listener?
You're the listener, I'm the caller.
Okay. So I'm going to close this input, and I'm going to come back into settings, and I'm going to turn off the SRT right here. So I have unenabled it. So I should be back in sort of a zero SRT situation. So now I'm going to add an input, and it's going to be a stream/SRT input. And actually, I'm going to take that one right there that's got all the data that I want in it, and I'm just going to change it to listener, right? I'm the listener, you're the caller.
You're the listener.
I'm the listener. I don't see where to put the, am I listening for anything? I guess I'm listening for anything because
Yeah.
I don't know who's sending it to me. And it's blackness.
Of course it is.
Of course it is, he says. So let's try the statistics. And the statistics now are still kind of all zeros. Interesting, the duration is 0, which means nothing is happening.
Right.
Maybe we're hung up on a port. Do I need to open a port?
Well, that's probably it, because we don't have a VPN established or anything else. So we
Yeah.
have to get connected somehow, because I can't even ping your IP address from where I am.
Really?
Yeah.
California has fallen off the edge of the earth.
No, it's happening to your west. There's just some problems to the west there. There's somebody's put up a doorstop, and I mean, it could even be Tommy. You just never know. He has
All right.
control of pretty much anything and everything that goes in and out of Alabama. So
Well, let's try it the other direction then. I'm going to be the what is it?
well, can you ping my IP address? Why
I
don't
don't know.
you
How
try
do
to
you-
ping my IP address?
How do you ping something?
You go to command prompt. You should be able to right click on that and get to a command prompt or
Yeah.
something similar.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you ping, and then you put in that IP address of my router that I gave you.
Okay. Well, let's pull that back up because I don't remember it. But I have it right here. I'll bet. Yep, there it is right there. Can I cut and paste to a...
Well, if you're careful.
Yeah, there we go. No spaces, right?
Correct. Just a space between the word ping and the IP address you're putting in with the dots.
Yep. The request
See.
timed out.
Yep, same here.
Timed out again. Timed out again.
So the fact that we're not connected with a VPN or some other methodology of recognition, if we can't ping each other, this will not work this way.
Gotcha. Okay. So even though Rendezvous was able to navigate it, without some other assistance, we're not going to be able to do
Correct.
a caller listener scheme. That's interesting. Okay.
You can do it at home on your own network, internal network.
Uh-huh.
And so that's why when we did the connection, we used the one tier software to have that channel to each other, and it worked flawlessly. It connected right up with no problem whatsoever. Now, it's a VPN, so that's going to introduce some level of latency just because it's a VPN and there's a little more overhead, but I don't think it was that bad, really.
Okay. And in some ways, you really don't care about latency because
Right.
you're setting up latency to begin with.
Correct. But you're able to control it. And so the rendezvous scenario with us just connecting from one to the other simplifies all this as far as getting a one-to-one connection. If somebody's in the field and they're trying to send to you, you just go ahead and use rendezvous setup, and you just put it in and you receive it on the other end, and then you do with it, ever how you're going to process it on that end.
Right.
And
All right.
that just eliminates the firewall issues, et cetera. I mean, it just cuts right through that way, but not with the caller listener scenario unless you get some type of ability to communicate across everything.
All right, so there's some suggestions in the chat to try different ports, but if I can't ping you, it doesn't matter if the port's open or closed, does it?
Well, you're just pinging an IP address. If you put a port at the end of an IP address and try to ping it, you get an error. So,
Okay,
at least I did.
gotcha.
Try this, though. Yeah, even with port 80, an open port. Yeah.
And you're just getting an error.
And Michael
message.
Graves says that's the whole reason for rendezvous. It eliminates all of that potential.
Interesting.
And it's already secure, so you don't need a VPN to secure it. Although we use the VPN to share all these other things, it's not needed. But yeah, the rendezvous takes care of that for you.
But it also introduces an unnecessary connection. I mean, if all I need to do is send you data to do rendezvous, now I'm sending you something and you're sending me something back, although I guess you could just send me a blank screen and so it would be hardly any data involved.
Right. Well, we don't have to do the two-way connection. We don't have to do in-out. You can just set yours up for out. I set up mine for in within rendezvous, and I receive your stuff.
Oh.
It's two one-way communications the way we were doing it, but it's not a two-way communication.
So we didn't have to do both. We didn't have to both be a caller and both
No.
be a listener.
No. All you need to do is set it up as an on your output, and I set it up as an input, and then I receive what you're sending to me, and then we just basically communicate over the phone or whatever to make sure you're confident that I'm getting what you're sending me.
Right.
And we're good.
All right. Well, I'm going to send you using rendezvous.
Okay, so I will
And
I
I
will
want you to
receive it.
receive using Rendezvous.
I will do that. But okay. Good. Good. Yeah, there you are.
No way. Show me. I don't believe you.
Well, you saw me a while ago. It didn't matter that you were sending to me. I mean, I see you. There you are. So
Okay. And let's see, hold on a second here.
yeah, Giles is verifying. He says it's the only way without VPN.
Oh, I'm sorry,
We've
Dave.
got
Say again. It's the only
we've got
way
Giles
without.
and we've got Michael Graves commenting, and it's like that's what Rendezvous is for. And he says he doesn't think you can do it unless you have a VPN. So that's the way it is.
So why would you even do it the other way? Why wouldn't you do it Rendezvous all the time?
Well, you would. You would. Unless, you had something else. And then Michael Graves also commenting that if you have a well done VPN, that it shouldn't add any really appreciable latency to it.
Okay.
So something that's well put together shouldn't really, knock you in the dirt that way, either way.
Okay. All right. Very
And,
good.
Michael says that WebRTC is basically using a VPN in that it negotiates a secure connection. So from that perspective, that's
Right.
what WebRTC does.
Right. Interesting. All right.
Yeah, SRT is using UDP, so it doesn't do all of the error checking that you get from TCP,
Yep.
but what they've added to it allows it to error check, and that's how come it can be stable when everything else is falling apart when you try to just send an RTMP stream out as well. So.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, so that doesn't
Yeah, I've
explain
got you
why
here
my
pretty well.
It doesn't explain why my statistics are zeros.
Statistics.
I don't know why, Dave, your audio keeps cutting out when I do that. There must be a trigger somewhere.
Yeah, there's a follow or a trigger happening, for sure. See, I'm seeing my connection. Yeah, my out is not activated, but it shows it on my screen here. But it says that it shows me a duration. We've been connected. I've been receiving your signal for about 3 minutes and some.
Okay.
So
3
almost
minutes, 17
3:15.
seconds on this one. 18, 19, 20,
Yeah, exactly.
21.
And that's on your output, correct?
Right. That's all I'm showing.
Yeah, and so I'm seeing that. Yeah, and I'm seeing that on the input. So there's a way to verify that it's made. I don't know about all the other statistical data that's supposed to show up. Don't know what that means, but we do know we're connected.
All right. Well, just for grins, why don't you close
Reverse?
out? Well, close out that SRT input. I want to see what my stats show on this side. Immediately, the duration went to 0. So I know it's dropped the connection. Okay.
All right, so let me send to you, and you receive it.
All right. I wonder if I need to turn off my output in order to do that. Let's just leave it.
I did not do that with mine. I left it as it was, but because you weren't connecting to it, it was fine. Now that I was set as connector or caller from the previous setup as well, but I'm just going to set up as in rendezvous mode. So you should be able to add that input, and you should be able to get my feed coming over.
And there it is. Oh, it froze immediately. Yeah, it looks like it
Yeah,
dropped.
I see that. Yeah, I see that.
Okay. Looks like my output's still sending though. Well, let's go turn that off
Let me.
and see
Let me
if that
check
makes a
mine.
difference.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm connected to you. Oh, there's some things going on here. Oh, I'm disconnected now. Now I'm connected back.
There we
So
go.
now I'm back. Yeah.
What did you
Yeah,
do?
I can't try to do. I didn't do anything. I just was watching the overview in the statistics, not even the SRT piece.
Okay.
And I saw it disconnect. I think that's when you reset your system there, something that you did.
Okay.
Because all I'm showing right now is out 2, and we've
Okay.
been connected for 25 seconds.
All right. Can you set up a second output and I'll set up a second input? How would
Which
it
is
know
like what
which
we were doing
IP address
earlier.
to use? Yeah.
It's the same. You use my IP address to send anything to me, and I use yours to receive anything from you. Haven't received anything from you yet.
Oh, you want me to send you something?
Well, that's what you have to do. Oh, you're just checking things.
Well, no, I wanted you
Yeah,
to.
I'm trying to.
I wanted you to send me 2 things.
Oh,
to
to
send
send
me
you 2
t-
things. Okay.
to send me 2 different
Cool.
inputs.
I'll create. We have to put a different port number
Ah, okay. All right.
for the second thing. That's how you separate them out.
Got
So I will send you something else then. Let me go in here and I will send you.
Yeah, Rich said I had port 10,000 being used twice, and he's exactly right.
Exactly. So just make it, 10,001
10,001. Got
for
it.
the second one.
All right. And there's the second one right there. We'll put the second one up there where we can see it and pull the stats back up. And right now it's 0. Same IP address, different port, 10,001. Same latency, 150, right?
Yep.
Okay. Not getting it.
Just a minute. And you're on port 10,001, right?
10,001. One, 3 zeros, and a 1. Not making a connection. I'm going to close it out and try it again. So add input,
Yeah, it's
stream SRT, rendezvous, host name, port 10,001, latency 150, not changing anything else. Adding. I wonder if I should uncheck hardware decoder. if I've used all my
You might.
decoders. Let's try it without the
Do
decoder.
you want to start eating?
Wow, it's 2. Yeah.
All right, so SRT
1. My clock up there is 2.
and 10,000. We're going to say no hardware decoder.
If you want.
And
Yeah.
bring up that window. And still doesn't look like anything.
Yeah, I'm not seeing you pull it in from here. Well, let's
Yeah.
do this. Let's set it to port 5000.
All right.
Just separate it out so that there's no oddities going on.
All right.
And let's see, I'm going to go here, choose my output, go to that setting.
I'm there waiting.
Yeah, they're not talking to each other because my output 2 has been running for 5 minutes and 30 seconds, and my output 3, there's no clock ticking. It's just all zeros.
All right. Well, why don't you stop your first one, and I'm going to stop my first one, and let's see if that triggers the second one to connect.
Okay.
All right, so we'll take that one out. And we'll come back
Well,
here,
actually, I think I can just do this.
and we'll look at all
Go to
zeros.
SRT.
This is going to be the one to port 5000.
That should be the only one left.
Right.
I just disabled it in the external gear icon down there because it has a place to enable and disable your SRT right there,
Really?
1 through 4. It's under output 2, 3, and 4. Then you have SRT, and I just unticked my my number 2, which was what my output was.
Gotcha.
You're still not receiving me though, are you?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Okay.
5000 is the default port, as far as I know, from what I think what Martin said and what he published.
Okay.
You know, everybody's wanting us to use other ports to see if that helps, but we were able to connect at port 10,000, so we can go into this one and set its ports to 10,000, and it should connect.
All right.
You think?
Let's do that. And it shouldn't matter whether I get there first, should it?
No, you just wait.
Nada.
Not a thing.
Not a thing. Duration is all zeros. I think we broke it, Dave.
That's good. Needed to be broken so it could be made better.
All right, well, I'm going to close out on my end. Why don't you close out your send, your
Okay.
and your output, and I want to set up an output and use you as the input.
Okay.
So I'm going to set up a rendezvous on port 10,000
Okay.
for 150, and quality is H.264 1.5. The HEVC looks a lot like H.264 if you're not careful. I almost made that mistake the first time. I'm going to untick hardware encoder. And so
Giles said it'll fall back to the software if there's not enough hardware encoders within the SRT stuff.
Oh, so it
So
doesn't
that's
matter.
interesting.
Okay. All right.
So now you want me to add an input and pull you in? Pull that in?
Yes. Yes. I want you to pull me
Okay.
in.
Throw you a rope.
Oh, got it. I'm sending.
Yep, I see you.
Okay. Well, that worked. Well,
Yeah.
I understand. It's probably a political thing.
Maybe.
Alabama has no problems to send to California, but when California wants to send to Alabama, we don't want any of it. So, all right, well, let's leave this one up. And then why don't you do an output back to me?
All right.
And just, this is where we were a second ago, and it should have worked.
Yep.
And we can still use
Should
port
have.
10,000.
Yep. I'm just closing your send out. And I'll set my send up. Oh, I see what the problem is. I know what our problem was now the whole time.
Uh,
I had a wrong IP address in there. It wasn't mine, so I thought it was correct. I was actually sending that to Giles. That's why we didn't get it going the last time.
Okay.
Wait a second. Let me go back here. Let me go back because I'm on HEVC there as well, just like you were talking about. Let's get that. And you should actually get something this time. But I see nothing again.
well, it's trying again. Yep, there it is.
There it is. You got it. My clock.
Got it. All right, I'm still sending to you.
Oh, you are. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I'll
So
add
I
an
want to
input
see if
and
you
pull
can
you back in then.
receive on port 10,000.
Oh, yeah.
You got
Should
it.
be no problem at all. Let's double check that. That's input number 7. And there you are. Yeah, this is what we
Okay.
did at the beginning.
All
Yeah,
right.
when we're doing it back and forth that way, it'll use the same port.
Right.
But,
right.
you only need
All
it to
right.
be one way. But yeah, that works
All
really
right.
well.
So I want you to change your output to port 5,000
All righty.
because that didn't work before, and it may be because you just had the wrong IP.
It was the wrong IP address. That was the whole problem.
There it is.
There it is on port 5000. So
Port
yeah.
5,000. All right. Now I want you to send me another one on port 10,000.
I was just doing that, but I will.
I know, but I just want to make sure 5,000 was going to work before we went.
Oh yeah, they
back
all
to the
should
next.
work with Rendezvous. The problem was the IP address. It was just in there from the testing that Giles and I did, and I didn't double check that when I did it.
Well, I hear you
So
saying that.
you want me to add another send to you? That's what
Another
it is?
output. That's right.
Okay, I can do that. I just got to click on the right button. And you want that to be on 10,000, correct?
Correct. There it is,
There you go, side by side.
side by side.
Yep. It works as it should. We just don't sometimes. But
All right. One more thing. I
Okay.
want to send as an output from me an input from you on port. Hang on a second. I'll tell you what port.
Just pick one.
Well, I want to pick one that we haven't already used. I'm just not
No,
sure
it's okay.
which one we're sending.
It doesn't matter. Just grab a port. Just grab a
All right.
port.
Port 5000.
Well, we're using 5,000 right now. Are we not?
I am sending you currently port 10,000.
Right. Well, yeah, but I'm sending you 5,000.
Right.
And so if you do it on that, I mean, it's in versus out, I guess. I don't know. You want to try that? I'm already receiving on port 5,000, or I'm sending on port 5,000.
Right.
I'm
but I want
sending
you
on
to-
5,000, and you're receiving on 5,000, but you're not sending on 5,000
Exactly.
yet. Okay.
150 milliseconds. H.264.
Yep, you just came up. Same
Okay.
port, different input.
All right.
Yeah, there it is.
So we've got 4 SRT streams going right now. You've got 2 inputs, you've got 2 outputs, I have the same.
Yeah.
The stats are virtually useless except for the duration. I don't
Yeah.
know what
Yeah.
I don't know what the problem is there. But I'm looking at the stats. It shows my 2 outputs, and then it shows the 2 inputs from you, and it identifies what input it is, the fact that it's SRT, and then it has your IP address and the port number. And then after that is
Yep.
the duration.
Same here.
Okay.
And if you'll notice on your vMix, your render times, GPU, CPU, all that stuff is very, very low. Now, I know
Well-
you're streaming. Probably as well.
Not on this PC.
Okay.
This is my old 2nd generation i7.
Okay.
Render time is 35 milliseconds. GPU
Okay.
memory is 100%. CPU use
Oh,
is
boy.
55 with vMix and 65 overall. So it's
What is it
pushing this
without all
old
those
guy.
streams? Yeah, it is. But it still shows you that with a 2nd generation, you can still do an SRT
Right.
push
Right.
or
Right.
receive, and you don't need anything else when that's coming in because you're getting all the content generally. Now you could have it come in and then you provide the lower thirds, you provide all that stuff as well. So you would use a few more resources, but still, not bad. I'm sitting at render time around 15 milliseconds, GPU memory 7%, CPU for vMix is about 11 to 15%, and total is only like 15 to 20%. And I've got a 3rd generation i7 here, but I have a 1060 that I just put in. And it has 6 gigs on it, so I'm assuming the cache isn't that big a deal on that. Yeah, I mean it's just very low, and I'm watching the stream live, and I've got some other Windows Chrome stuff open
Right.
as well.
Right.
But I'm not running Zoom simultaneously, all that, but still, yeah, it's pretty good.
All right. So I am convinced, and let's go back to this shot right here. I'm convinced, Dave, that if I were to do SRT, I would use Rendezvous and just that'd be the end of
Oh
it.
yeah. Absolutely. That's the whole idea. Is it bypasses all the firewall stuff and port forwarding and any other manipulative things that you might have to do. It just works.
Right.
And somebody was using it on Larry's broadcaster on a phone and sending it from that phone to their vMix system. So if you had a camera set up where you could add that to it, it had some type of encoder that would do SRT for you. You could do a couple of cool things.
So in the great grand world of SRT, call, listen, and rendezvous, all three of those are common functions.
Correct.
Okay, so rendezvous is not specific to vMix. It's available out
No,
there
no,
in
no,
the great
no.
grand world. Okay.
I'm sure Martin would have called it something different if it was
Yeah.
possible, but
Yeah.
why would you put rendezvous in a vMix product? You know? So
Exactly.
everybody's
Well,
stuck with it.
Except in this
so,
case,
yeah.
it works. Yeah.
Yeah. There
That's
you
right.
go. Makes
Ed
a big
Horn is
difference. saying
saying that the GPU overload warning is on my PC, and yeah, Ed, that's because it's a GTX 750 Ti with I think 2 gigs of RAM, but we're upgrading that today. We've got
when you've got 40 some odd inputs on that thing too, even though it's the second generation, right?
51.
Don't
Yeah.
you have a lot of? Yeah, I mean a lot. You got a lot of inputs.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you got rid of a bunch of those, that GPU even at 2 gigs, because I had a 960 with 2 gigs, and I could make that happen. I could make the memory go to 100%, but just doing something like this, it would handle this with no problem.
Yeah.
And the same hack. You don't hack the card, you hack the software to get the more encoder instances. And so when I just installed the 1060, it just loads up and goes.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't have any problem with it. So
Cool.
So I didn't have as much memory. I only had 2 gigs versus the 6 as far as overall memory. But that cache may be the same size no matter what card you're using. I don't know. That caching GPU mem piece may be just the same thing. I don't know if they allocate more on the higher end cards, and maybe on the RTXs they did. I don't know.
Well, I want to know more about that. I've just taken out my 2 rendezvous inputs, and I've disabled the 2 rendezvous outputs, and my render time has dropped down to 20 milliseconds. CPU has dropped down to 35 to 40, so that definitely has an impact. But I've got an i7 8700K machine over there that I'm working on as I have time with a 1060 card in it. I think 6 gigs of RAM, so I'm interested to see what we might be able to do with that in the future. It'll be the first upgrade for the Streaming Idiots show, I think in the history of the show.
Since the dinosaurs went extinct, right?
That's right. Since the dinosaurs first started streaming, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's us.
Yes, it is. That's right.
Many
Well,
of us, I think.
Dave, you have been very gracious with your time today, and I don't want to steal any more of it. But I do appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and to lead me through all this stuff, and we can break it and make mistakes and show folks just what it's kind of just what it's like.
Right. Well, and Giles mentioned that the whole idea of this SRT thing is to be in a scenario where you really need it, where you're hammered, you don't have enough bandwidth, and your latency is horrible and all that, and you're just basically putting a wrapper around it with SRT to control it and to make it stable. It's, for normal use, it's not that big a deal. There's other things that you could do, but like I said, streamers are going to do it with it what they please. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. But really, that's the intent of it, is you're in a limited scenario and you want to make sure that you've got that latency corralled so that it doesn't impact the quality of the stream that you're sending to your viewers. So it's more reliable. So, and secure and transported.
You got it. There you go. You can wrap it up in 3 words, 3 letters. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Dave. Maybe not next week, but at some point, you can come back on the show and show us how to do the NVIDIA hack. Would that be a
Oh, boy.
possibility?
Yeah,
Yeah?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have to work on it, but yeah, I got time.
All right. All right. Maybe, how about, after Thanksgiving?
Oh yeah, that would be good.
First or second week in December. Okay.
You can let me remote in, and by then you should kind of sort of retired your second generation, and I'll hack your 750 Ti.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, let's do that.
Remote control into it and all that, and then we can
Yeah.
test it, and you can show people
Yeah.
how many encoders you're running only with a 2 gig set.
man.
I had 5 running on a 2 gig card.
No way.
I was streaming to 3 destinations. I had 2 recordings going, recording 1 and recording 2 going all at the same time, all with hardware encoding.
on a
running.
2 gig card.
A 2 gig card.
Gee whiz. Gee whiz. Very good. Very good. I'm looking forward to that. It'll be a
Okay, man.
birthday
I'll get my
present
ducks
for
in a
me.
row then.
Yeah, that's right. Get those ducks. And for all of you that are watching, thanks for hanging out with us today. Thanks for all the birthday wishes. I really do appreciate them. I will tell you a little secret, if you promise not to tell anybody. My birthday was really yesterday, but I lied to Facebook because I thought, sooner or later I'm going to need to have that information to be proprietary and secret, and I'm not going to give Facebook my correct birthday. So it was really yesterday, but I still appreciate the birthday wishes today. So there you go. So there you go. All right, Dave. Thank you so much. And folks,
My
we're going to
pleasure.
let the stream run out, and we will catch you next week. So, golly gee, thanks for watching.